Coming up this afternoon on Nonstop Local at 4 o'clock, we're tracking more fallout from the travel nightmare that flying has become. People stranded for days at the airports across the country, and now Federal Department of Transportation vowing to investigate. Then there's new information on 4 power substation attacks in western Washington, the possible connection to white supremacists. But next, flooding concerns with an incredible amount of snow in December and then a jump in temperatures. People are dealing with unprecedented flooding issues, and now the next crazy weather event is set to hit. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Webb. Corey Howard has the night off. We're going to start coverage with Blake Jensen. And Blake, forecasting over the last week or so has just been a roller coaster ride. Snow, dangerously cold temperatures, and now warming up that leads to flooding. Yeah. Now we're talking about high winds.
It's been all of it, and just in succession, a kind of a different impact, John, every single day. Yesterday and last night, of course, the heavy rain, the flooding concerns, which we still have out there today, but more immediately now as we head overnight tonight, the wind's starting to ramp up, and this is all attached to the same storm that's been working its way through since yesterday. Take a look at this. Steady winds right now in Walla Walla, blowing to 40 miles per hour. We just had a gust a couple of minutes ago up to 69 miles per hour in Walla Walla, now just shy of 50, but you can see how things really ramping up through the Columbia River Gorge all the way up to the Palouse, 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts, and likely going to be getting stronger as we head into the evening and early morning hours tomorrow. The spots where we're most concerned with the wind and the damage that it could potentially do, the areas shaded in the dark brown, those are high wind warnings, foothills of the Blue Mountains down into north central Oregon. That's where gusts could reach up to 60 to 65, even up to 70 miles per hour. That could cause widespread power outages. So if you live in any of those brown colored areas, probably be prepared for the possibility of losing power before you head to bed tonight. Spokane out through central Washington, not quite as strong, but still talking wind gusts up to 55 miles per hour, and those really ramping up here in the next couple of hours. By 5 o'clock, seeing gusts 50 to 55 in Pullman. By 7 o'clock, that could be in the 60 to 65 mile per hour range. Meanwhile, around Spokane, down through the Tri-Cities, we're looking at 35 to 40 mile per hour winds, where the wind advisory is in place. Again, not as severe there. So again, gusty winds tonight, still dealing with flood concerns as well, and some spots could even be seeing more snow by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. Still not out of the woods with this storm yet, John. We've got more on that coming up in a few minutes.
All righty, Blake, thank you.
Yeah.
The Department of Transportation says it will investigate Southwest Airlines flight cancellations in recent days that has left passengers stranded across the nation. Although many airlines were forced to cancel flights due to the weekend winter storm, Southwest had the most problems. A Southwest spokesperson says cancellations snowballed due to the storm that impacted flight crews and planes. In the meantime, just look at some of the pictures and videos. This is the luggage pileup in Detroit, where the winter storm forced the cancellation of numerous flights. This is just one of several staging areas set up for travelers to get their bags back after they were taken off canceled flights or were lost in transit during all the cancellations during the last few days. And there was some initial forgiveness among travelers, but now many are at the end of the year's rope.
Totally frustrating. It looks like a complete breakdown of the Southwest system, and I can't figure out why.
48 hours before we can even get it back. What are we supposed to do? It's ridiculous. It's lies. They can't even give us a direct answer.
Get your stuff together. Figure it out.
According to the tracking website FlightAware, of more than the 2,800 flights canceled in the U.S. early this morning, more than 2,500 were canceled by Southwest. The investigation into the cause of 4 substation attacks on Christmas Day near Tacoma, Washington, under investigation tonight. The attacks left about 17,000 customers without power over Christmas.
The deputies got there. There was nobody on scene, but they saw that the fence area had been broken into.
Just not sure why anybody would want to do that to other people on a day when, you know, we're here to celebrate with our families and be together and, you know, have that downtime, especially through the last couple years where things have been really hard for everybody.
Yeah, these attacks, the latest of a string of substation attacks across the country. Power infrastructure has long been on the attack wish list of white supremacists and other right-wing extremists who seek American destabilization. Earlier this year, 3 men pleaded guilty in connection with a plot to disrupt the electricity grid, sow civil unrest and economic uncertainty, and ultimately trigger a race war, federal prosecutors said at the time. There's no indication the Washington, Oregon, and Carolinas attacks shared similar motives. Still, there is added security to substations in Washington and Oregon, where a similar attack took place on Thanksgiving. Tragedy at the University of Idaho. Moscow police have debunked a theory that's circulating around online. Look at this video posted by a TikTok user who says tarot cards led her to these conclusions.
Their murder was ordered by Rebecca Schofield. Her targets were Kaylee and Madison.
Well, that TikTok user is now being sued for defamation by the U of I associate professor she names in the video. Today, the Moscow Police Department says that the professor is not a suspect and was never involved in this crime. We spoke with that TikTok user yesterday. We'll air that tomorrow during our weekly special, Moscow Murders at 6:30. In the meantime, if you know anything that might help authorities or if you have surveillance footage, you should talk to the Moscow Police Department. You can call their special tip line at 208-883-7180, or you can send an email to tipline@ci.moscow.id.us. Still to come tonight on Nonstop Local at 4 o'clock. Blake tracking some messy and potentially disruptive weather. His full forecast ahead. Plus, imagine their surprise. A Florida couple finding an engagement ring that was lost more than 2 decades ago. Their hero? A plumber. We'll explain ahead. But next, moose antlers on the loose. Some folks in Alaska capturing a rare treat on camera. We'll show you the video when we come back. Welcome back. Caught on camera, a couple in Alaska caught a super unusual sight on their doorbell camera when a moose left behind a surprise Christmas gift. Whoa. Tyra and Chance Bogert say they see plenty of the wildlife on their doorbell cam, but they couldn't quite believe what they saw when they got this alert. They opened the live feed on their phones and saw a bull moose seeming to sense something was up before he suddenly dropped both of his antlers.
Was standing there and he shook like a dog and they just plopped off and fell on the ground, and it looked to me like he was pretty scared.
Yeah, he was pretty shocked. He scared the crap out of himself, that's for sure. He took off running the other way.
Before you get too concerned, moose usually shed their antlers in the winter because it's the end of their breeding season, and the antlers get so heavy they can become a burden for the animals to carry when they're trying to survive the cold. So while this moose might have been a little upset about the whole thing, he's doing just fine tonight, Blake. And the Boggarts, a pretty cool souvenir from their front yard. Yeah. They didn't even know they didn't have to hunt for it at all.
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends that go shed hunting, and to come across a stroke of luck like that, I think they'd be pretty excited.
But a moose on the loose in the windy, wet, wild weather. Tongue twister for you.
Yeah, all of it. We've got all of it going on, and unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with it for a little bit longer. We still have flooding issues out there, all the rain that we got last night, this morning. Take a look at some of these numbers again. This is as of 11:15 this morning, so these have probably gone up close to 3 inches of rain from last night through about noon today in Sandpoint, Spirit Lake over 2.5, Athol at 2, just under 2.25, and Spokane just over an inch of rain. And again, you combine that with the warmer temperatures that we've been seeing, the melting snow, all of that running downhill. We're starting to see flooding, or have been seeing flooding rather, down on Paradise Creek in Moscow. That is still under a flood warning. Right now, the river, or the creek rather, about 1.5 feet above its banks right now. That should start to recede into late tonight, early tomorrow morning. But again, water over the roadways in some spots down that direction. We've also had multiple reports of water over the roads in the areas under the flood advisory. So again, still need to just be careful out there. Could come across some roads, especially down through the Palouse. The fields are frozen, all that snow melts, and that water can start to trickle out over the roadways. So again, be careful. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Try not to drive through any flooded roadways. Unfortunately, could be dealing with the flooding issues all the way into tomorrow afternoon. That's on top of the gusty winds that are starting to ramp up out there tonight. Again, that could bring likely power outages to the places that are under that high wind warning. The Palouse down through the foothills of the Blue Mountains, up through portions of the Columbia River Gorge. So again, tonight, even as of right now, be prepared the possibility in those spots that we could lose power. We also are going to see our temperature starting to cool down down again now that the cold front has moved through. So rain turning back over to snow at the higher elevations. That can mean up to a foot of snow, and that says 1 inch, up to a foot of snow up at the passes tonight and into the day tomorrow. And of course, the flood advisories, flood warnings that we just talked about still in place through tomorrow as well. But again, this is one of the issues. Look at these temperatures. Got to 55 degrees in the Tri-Cities today, 61 in Hermiston. Meanwhile, juxtapose that to 34 degrees in Wenatchee. We still have some cold air kind of trapped up against the Cascades. We've got warm air out through central Washington, where all of that's still falling as rain here tonight. And now what we're watching, that little area of circulation right there, as that starts to move across the state, that's where our winds really ramping up here tonight. Again, already starting to see that into the foothills of the Blue Mountains as we go through the evening and early tomorrow morning. Still seeing the rain as well. Let's time this out because I want you to see also as we go overnight tonight, drying out for parts of the lower Columbia Basin. But look what starts to happen 9, 10 o'clock tonight. The cooler air starting to drop those snow levels again, and could be seeing a mix of rain and snow over portions of North Idaho, especially above 3,000 feet. That's where that snow could be sticking again up to a foot at the passes. That's also where we have winter weather advisories still in place. Notice Lookout Pass, 4 to 8 inches on this particular model. Same thing for Snoqualmie Pass. Might even get a little bit of slushy snow accumulations from Sandpoint down to the Palouse. Might see some flakes around Spokane, but right now not expecting any accumulation. Certainly the biggest snow impacts again at the pass level, where we could be seeing that foot or more of snow through the day tomorrow. On top of all of that, heavy snow, rain, warm temperatures, we do still have the avalanche concern. So again, lots going on. The wind, the biggest issue out there tonight, and you notice those temperatures do start to cool down a little bit, getting right near the freezing mark, where we could see some of those rain, snow mix showers tomorrow. Not quite as warm as today, but still back above freezing in the afternoon. Actually should be a pretty nice but blustery day for parts of central Washington, at least getting to see some sunshine. Still some active weather the rest of the week as well, but we do start to cool back down. That should help to put an end to some of the flooding, the runoff that we're seeing coming from the mountains, but could see some more snow showers Thursday night into Friday around Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. Similar setup, Yakima and the Tri-Cities. Chance for some rain, snow mix showers Wednesday night into Thursday, Thursday night into Friday. All of it drying out, at least for the holiday weekend.
Headlines from around the country and world. Police in San Francisco are investigating a mass overdose incident that happened on Christmas that sent 5 people to the hospital. Investigators say they were called to a home at Post and Webster Streets at about 2 on Sunday afternoon. 6 people there were having a, quote, medical emergency. Paramedics administered the overdose reversal drug Narcan to the victims at the scene. Police say 2 people are in critical condition. 1 person was treated at the scene and released. An absolute tragedy in eastern Ohio, where 6 people were killed in a house fire. Fire crews were called to this house in Newcomerstown at about 1:30 Monday morning. The coroner's office said 6 victims were removed from the house. Piles of snow-covered debris were all that was left of the burned house after crews demolished it. There's no word on how the fire started, and the victims' identities haven't been released. The school district releasing a statement that said grief counselors would be available at the elementary school today. An unexpected impact of Russia's invasion on Ukraine. Russian tourism taking a huge hit. Listen to this. State agencies reporting a 90% decrease in organized tourism tours, with 190,000 people visiting Russia in 2022 versus nearly 300,000 visiting in 2021. The change is credited to negative views of the country and Russia's hard-to-obtain visa. Add that to the U.S. State Department advisory against visiting Russia due to, quote, the unprovoked and unjustified invasion of Ukraine by Russian military forces and the embassy's limited ability to assist U.S. citizens in Russia, COVID-19 related restrictions, and terrorism, amongst many other reasons. Ex-NFL stars are pleading with Tua Tagovailoa to step back from the season immediately after the Miami Dolphins quarterback suffered a 3rd concussion. Tua is now in concussion protocol, a 2nd time placed there this season. Former NFL quarterbacks Steve Young and Robert Griffin III both urging him to sit out the rest of the season, adding that even if he wants to play, the NFL shouldn't let him if they're serious about player health and safety. Miami plays the Patriots on Sunday, and at this point, a starter hasn't been decided. While Tua's season is undecided, another NFL star says he's made a decision. Arizona Cardinals defensive end J.J. Watt, one of the greatest defensive players in NFL history, announced his retirement today. Watt is a three-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year and is likely headed to the NFL Hall of Fame. He said in a statement today he played his last ever home game Sunday. The Cardinals' last two games are on the road. Watt is a star on the field, but he's also well known for his work off the field. After Hurricane Harvey hit Texas, he spent 3 weeks working there to help people, ultimately raising nearly $40 million for victims of the flood and damage. A Florida couple gets a special surprise under their Christmas tree. The last gift they expected to receive this year was something long gone but not forgotten, an engagement ring lost for 21 years. Back in 2001, Shayna Day accidentally flushed her ring down the toilet at her father-in-law's home shortly after her now husband proposed to her.
Climbed down into the septic tank so we could pump it, every bit of it, through a strainer to try to find it.
And no luck.
No luck.
No luck. Although the ring was replaced, the couple always wondered what happened to it. But their luck recently changed. A plumber with an eagle eye discovered the ring while replacing the toilet, which made for the perfect Christmas gift.
And he said, "Do you think it's Shayna's ring?" And I looked at it again and I went, "Oh my God, yes."
As I told my daughter earlier, that was kind of an ugly cry. I sat there and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my ring. This is my ring.
They say they learned a valuable lesson and shared this advice: always check your toilet when you lose things. You have just a few hours left to buy a Mega Million ticket before tonight's drawing. Quite the transition there. Tonight's jackpot is worth a whopping $565 million, which could buy a whole lot of sparklers for your New Year's celebration, or potentially plumbers. If someone matches all 6 numbers, it would be the 6th largest prize in the game's 20-year history. Mega Millions has only served up 11 winning jackpots of $500 million or more. This year, nationwide excitement for lotto games hit a fever pitch, and for a good reason. And just last month, after 40 straight winless drawings, a winning Powerball ticket was sold just outside Los Angeles, worth a historic $2.4 billion. Wow. The winner of that jackpot has yet to come forward to claim the winnings. So someone is a billionaire and either doesn't know it, lost a ticket, or is waiting for the right moment to strike. California law requires their name to eventually be made public, and the winner has until November of 2023 to come forward. If you play tonight, good luck. We're back with more after this. Welcome back. A cool idea here as we reach the end of 2022. NBC looking back on guests who left their mark this year. Their first story, Darren Harrison, a Florida man who landed a plane with no flying experience after the pilot suddenly became unconscious. Darren shared his experience exclusively with the Today Show last spring. Now NBC's Joe Fryer has what the rest of his year looked like.
I've got a serious situation here. My pilot has gone incoherent.
It was a flight home that quickly became a life-or-death situation for Darren Harrison last May. The pilot of the small plane suffered a catastrophic cardiac event, leading Darren to jump into action.
The plane is in a nosedive, essentially.
Correct. Yes. And at that point, I knew if I didn't react that we would die. And so I reached over his body, because he's at this point unresponsive, and I grabbed the controls of the airplane and slowly started to pull back on the stick and turn.
How did you know how to do that?
Just common sense, I guess, being on airplanes.
That's a miracle right there.
That's the scariest part of the whole story.
A story that was far from over. Darren, who had no flying experience and no GPS, still had to land the plane.
Did it ever cross your mind that you wouldn't try?
No. No.
With the help of an air traffic controller on the ground, Darren landed safely. His first call to his wife, Brittany, who was pregnant with their first child.
Did you think about your little girl?
It's one of the first things that went through my mind. I can't die today. I got a baby on the way.
A new life that arrived just 3 months after Darren defied death.
Mary Margaret came into the world.
Darren and Brittany say they're cherishing every second they have together as a family of 3.
She's a dream. She's everything that we ever hope that she could be in more.
As for the plane's pilot, Darren says he has made a full recovery and is flying again.
He is doing fantastic, like it never even happened.
But his own return to the sky was a bit nerve-wracking.
I went on, hey, it's no big deal. Nothing's going to happen. It's a commercial flight. There was 2 instances that were very vivid where it kind of shook me up a little bit.
A reminder of that near-death experience that has given him a new appreciation for life, his family, and his friends.
Every time I see a friend of mine, I always give hugs now. Handshakes are gone. I always do hugs. So I'm just thankful to see people and thankful to have those friends and just thankful to be alive.
All right, one last look at that forecast. Again, so much going on, but I think this is the most important. Now the wind's ramping up tonight. Again, the spots in the dark brown, that's the high wind warning. The rest of us under that wind advisory could see gusts up to 55 miles per hour, but it's the 60, 65, even up to 70 mile per hour gusts tonight through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. That could cause widespread power outages. So if you live in those areas, be ready. The possibility that you could, again, lose power tonight. Thankfully, things start to calm down mid to late week, but still chances for some snow Thursday night into Friday morning. By the holiday weekend, should be much quieter as temperatures do cool down as well, back to where we should be for December. That should bring about some more normalcy, John.
All righty, Blake. Thank you. We'll see you back here at 6:30. Have a good night.